Thank you. Thank you. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. We're almost at the tail end of this conference. I'm sure it's been fantastic learnings and fantastic networking. My name is Hassan Emmed. I'm the country director for Singapore at Coinbase. Moved to Singapore about 6 years ago and was fortunate to be in a position at that time to help start the Singapore office at Coinbase. So really today what I want to talk to you about is to shill Coinbase and shill Singapore to you as a hub of incredible innovation and how that flows into the stablecoin theme and stablecoin summer that's playing out. So just quick disclaimer, no financial advice, barely any life advice, but thank you for being here. So we set up our shop here 4.5 years ago, and we were fortunate to receive our license from the MAS about 2 years ago. We have sturdy fiat on-ramps and off-ramps. We have a very strong USDC program here as well. We offer services for retail, for credit investors, family offices, institutions, and have been very fortunate to be growing very, very steadily. And Singapore is one of our best performing markets across Coinbase. What's also enabled that is that we've taken a long-term view in the markets that we operate in. And so we're very active in engaging with the MAS, with various regulators regionally as well, and really have helped, we believe, to shape a policy that is beneficial for the industry as a whole. I'm also incredibly proud that we have a full stack team in Singapore, almost 110 people, but we have the gamut of product and engineering, design, data analytics, institutional sales, business development, account servicing, legal risk, compliance, finance, and so on. So what that really allows us to do at the end of the day is to build in the region for the region and be very, very close to our users. And then finally, we do a lot of community engagement as well, just outside of the sort of walls of Coinbase. We want to make sure that we're good corporate citizens. We do a lot of education events with NUS, SMU, NTU, as well as agencies like the EDB. We launched our engineering hub in the partnership with EDB last year here as well. Okay, so let's talk a bit about Singapore and what the journey here has been like. So Singapore, as many of you know, sort of is sort of a miracle state, in terms of its sort of kind of founding and with Lee Kuan Yew at the helm, and really today is an economic miracle, as many of you know. Part of the way that Singapore Inc. operates is that it's an open economy. They understand that they don't have that much sort of natural resources, and so they've really leaned in on making sure that they're at the intersection of a lot of sort of big economic growth trends and have made it very easy to do business and corporate and to allow for capital to flow as well. So starting in the late 80s and 90s, Singapore really started ascending as a financial hub. And then late 90s and early 2000s, they recognized that fintech was becoming a thing, and they moved a lot of their policies to encourage technology and innovation on top of financial services. And then about 5-6 years ago, they recognized the potential of blockchain to disrupt the whole industry and really started leaning into digital assets as well. So today, it's a thriving ecosystem. On the consumer side, we see adoption rates, which are kind of pretty top of range at around 26%. That's what our surveys show. Finance-forward Singaporeans like even more so, around like 70%. Institutions and businesses are also coming on chain in Singapore. There's a lot of funding that's available for startups. There's VCs, there's holding companies, and those are all sort of coming together as this Web3 ecosystem of more than 300 companies that are, everything from exchanges to custodians to DeFi protocols to layer ones to market makers to asset managers to hedge funds. And I think you need all of that to come together. One of the key things that we try to tell policymakers is it's very hard to say that mantra of like blockchain, not Bitcoin, that I only want kind of this slice of the ecosystem, but I'm not so interested in that slice. You have to kind of bring the whole thing together if you want to attract capital flows, if you want to attract talent, and if you want to attract innovation. So regulation is sort of the air we breathe, right? So when you think about like, okay, what is sort of enabling all of this, and where are tailwinds and headwinds in that equation? So Singapore's overall stance, I would say, is that they're really trying very hard to balance innovation as well as consumer protection. And it's interesting. One of the key reasons I would say that even Coinbase was very serious about locating in Singapore is that back in the day, it's great to call it back in the day now, like in the US, like it was just a very hostile regulatory environment. There's no clear rules of the road. That's hopefully coming very soon. But we were thinking about, okay, what are some scenarios where Coinbase needs to diversify out as part of this global mission, but also to make sure that we have other bases around where there is regulatory clarity. And Singapore is like roughly, I would say, about 5 years ahead of other major jurisdictions back in 2019. When they issued the Payment Services Act, in which they recognized crypto as sort of these payment tokens. and really started to open up the industry for applications. So I think back in the day, there was about 178 applicants when the PS Act opened, and so there's this very strong appetite from various kind of pockets of the ecosystem to really put things down. Along with just kind of financial regulations, I would say that the other kind of key thing that people sort of take for granted sometimes in Singapore is that there are no capital gains. And I think that has also allowed for a lot of capital associated with digital assets to really kind of find a home in Singapore. Now we're starting, especially with stablecoins, like with the Genius Act passing in the US, what we're seeing next around the corner is that tax policy is becoming a really kind of key issue. Things like de minimis exemptions, things like, if you use stablecoins to make payments, but maybe it was sort of, on secondary markets, it's not exactly at one. How will companies and corporations sort of treat that? Those are things that, we fortunately are ironed out in Singapore, and that also, provides us more kind of breathing room for especially institutions to move forward. The second kind of key development that happened in Singapore is that in 2023, on top of the DPT licensing framework, they recognized that stablecoins one, had product market fit and were growing fast, and then two, presented its own set of unique risks. So the single currency stablecoin framework was issued and will soon be passed into law. But that, I would say, is the second kind of key sort of progress that's happened on the regulatory front. Now, at this point, especially with the US waking up as well, many other jurisdictions also have stablecoin frameworks. Japan has one, Dubai has one. There's stuff coming up in MiCA. So it's not as differentiated anymore, but it is one of the key things that is making Singapore attractive for stablecoins too. The last thing I'll just say is that it's not just about kind of controls and regulations and enforcement. One of the cool things about the MAS is that they actually are builders as well. So there's an innovation office and a fintech infrastructure office at the MAS, and they do have kind of these keystone projects. Two called out here are Project Orchid, which is about programmable money, and that's really a lot of kind of where the stablecoin work is happening. And then Project Guardian, which is around like more of the macro asset tokenization and RWA theme. So there's a lot of banks, standard setting bodies and crypto companies that are participating across both of these. And it's nice to be able to talk shop while we're trying to figure out regulations and have both of those represented in the same house. So one kind of big thing as we think about what's happening in the stablecoin front and some kind of mega trends that are happening is we talk about stablecoins and we all assume we're just talking about like USD denominated stablecoins. But if you look at traditional FX markets and global currency reserves, there is sort of imbalance on the stablecoin front at this point, and it's getting it's pretty marked because you have 99% dominance on USD on chain. But global currency reserves are actually sort of dipping on the USD side as countries diversify away, and that's sort of at around 60%. And so, there is a big role for local stablecoins to play, because ultimately, if you want to pay for goods and services and you want that utility, you have to have local stablecoins. And I think as governments and nation states also start coming on chain, they are not going to just want to use USD. They want to have their own sovereignty. And so we are seeing governments also wanting to make sure that their currencies are represented on chain as well, especially the G7. And then finally, I think if we want to grow out the crypto economy, we want to make sure that all this commerce and payments and everything is coming on chain. Again, USD is still dominant, but it should not be this dominant. And there's a kind of key role that local stablecoins will have to play. So when we think about for Singapore, like what might that mean? One of the key things about Singapore, and especially when you maybe contrast it to Hong Kong, is that Hong Kong is a huge and vibrant capital markets hub, but Singapore is actually a huge FX trading hub. And businesses and various kind of bourses here are very used to dealing in various currencies and having it act as a clearinghouse. And that's been a journey that sort of Singapore's been on for the last 20 years. Along with that, like Asian enterprises, like corporates, businesses that have needs around like FX and treasury, do a lot of their work out of Singapore pretty naturally. When we looked at some of the surveys around like why are enterprises using stablecoins today, that also fits very kind of neatly into the same theme, that enterprises are using stablecoins for two kind of key reasons. One is to pay suppliers offshore, and sometimes sort of USD does the job, but there is a need for crossing FX at some point. And then two is being able to accept payments on a cross-border basis. So those are themes that we see represented both kind of locally and regionally in a very big way. And you've got examples like Grab starting to accept more stablecoins. DBS has some plays around that, and we have a very strong kind of pipeline when we talk to different issuers and other banks and financial services institutions of what kind of stablecoins plays they want to have. It's not just USD. They do want to think about what might be coming after that. So I think when you kind of put all those ingredients and throw them in the pot, when I think about like where Singapore will shine, you look at the regulatory support that we have, the ecosystem that's already thriving, the enterprise readiness, local stablecoins, and just the FX kind of lineage and history that sits over here. I believe that the big opportunity for Singapore is this rise of on-chain FX, and I think Singapore is best positioned amongst, when I look across different jurisdictions, to be that hub that can not just have a simple, call it like a stablecoin framework, but one that can really give rise to issuance around a lot of different stablecoins, and then act as that clearinghouse when on-chain FX really becomes a thing. And we're starting to see signs of that happening already. So what is Coinbase doing around that? So I think one of the big things that we have been working on, because we recognize the importance of this theme, is that we have been looking at different local stablecoins that we can support. And so earlier this week, we had this really exciting announcement that Coinbase will be supporting XSGD, which is the local kind of Singaporean stablecoin that is part of the SCS framework and will be sort of enshrined pretty soon. And then we're also supporting AUDD out of Australia, and these are kind of really hot off the presses announcement that we made this week. On the order book side, we're going to make those order books available globally. And on the local side, we're going to allow for Singapore users to be able to go one-for-one between SGD and XSGD. And one of the cool things that we sort of see is like even for crypto folks who are looking at doing kind of on-ramping, off-ramping, today when you cross between SGD and USDC, you have to pay about 50 basis points, which is sort of the retail rate that someone like a Wise would offer. But with the order books that we're going to open up, USDC and XSGD, we are going to keep the mid-market at around like 5 basis points. And so we believe that this 90% reduction of kind of best-in-class rate, which is effectively wholesale, is going to also allow for both kind of retail, high net worth users, traders, institutions, to really be able to start moving in size and have sort of this core utility that's not just tied to the crypto markets, but really sort of has its grounding in traditional FX and start to come on-chain. And then once you have these digital dollars, you can take them on-chain and you can do other fun things as well. We will be offering XSGD on Base as well. It will be available. So you can also interact with DeFi and let's see what kind of crazy incentives different lending pools start giving out. But we're excited to see where this goes. It's just day one on this. And we hope that there is going to be a lot of payments use cases that come out of it as well. So my big call to action for this group is, especially for those of you that are based in Singapore or even if you're outside, go check out XSGD on Coinbase. Buy some XSGD, go take it on Base, take it for a spin and see what kind of rates you're getting, and please send us feedback. This is the start of something big, and I'm very excited that it's happening out of Singapore and this region. Thank you. Thank you very much.